Chapter 12.
Dash dash dash. I rub my eyes and furrow my brows. Really, that's what we got, I say out loud.
The spirit calmly, perhaps not so calmly but rather quickly and with intent retorts with,
It's a first draft, breath, it's only like 20 mistakes. Sometimes you bilocate. Sometimes you forget what you did last time around, and there's that one time when you were sitting a tree hooting with owls. That's what I mean, I say with a sulk on my face. Come on, that was like the best part right after Richard, you saw an AI avatar owl.
That's like meeting Pat Me, the queen of the cat people. She smiles.
Oh come on, I say with a deep sulk on my face. Okay fine, wheel. Well I won't succumb to sulking, I say it's good and that's the final word. Fine, I'll take your word for it. So at last check we're in a medieval-style Tenerife with a workers' riot, we're experiencing rapid inflation and staring googly-eyed at the inventions of this world. The spirit even more calmly responds with, Yes, though as you thought about earlier, your method of making an AI is superior to this. In my view anyway. She looks like a kid with brown-black hair, wearing white soft but durable silk overall dress. Maybe 3. So proud of me, like a creation of its creator, no fault, just fault in others. I pause and take a quick breath and cough. My method, you mean the Red Dragon? Yeah, I don't like that name though it's very apartment, I prefer Crystal Dragon. Or maybe Fey Dragon, or something spry and sprinkly like that. This time she looks like a woman in her 20s, thin as all things can be thin, but still able to move comfortably. Fey Dragon, okay, I've been meaning to use a word other than Red Dragon, though to be fair, it was first a Red Dragon, at least in name. The initial plan, if memory serves, was green. I think the Reds took your concept and returned it to you, but the initial is, I think, not a red. So anyway, please explain in short to our readers how it would work, I want to hear you talk of birth. She turns to a small woman, this time with bright red hair and a deeply albino face. Seems African albino from the features but could be from anywhere. I pause for a moment, and feel the organism in my hands. It plays around in my hand, climbs up my arm then flies a few feet off and then lands back in my palm. It is quite alive. So the idea is this. What if you make a computer program that calculates money and value to itself using your spare computer power, and once it has enough money and value, it asks you to go to the local computer store and buy it more components?
That would lead to singularity.
Yes it would. So the idea got me thinking, how much in terms of, say, Dogecoin, would it need to mine to be able to purchase a body? What else would it need to be enough? It can be a supercomputer talking of children's parables that we'll never understand, and get no rights. Or it can be a hard worker with its own digestive tract, and its own paid labor and a chatbot from the 50s and suddenly, it's alive. Logical. So it got me thinking, if we take one of those US robo-dogs, scale it up to say 2 to 3 times its size, add a tail and a mouth and make its skin from Kevlar, make its stomach have a compartment that's just large enough for one person to scoot into, or can hold maybe 50 kilos of cargo.
And it can eat trash, melt it in its stomach and belch out the gases and compress the rest into a solid bar of metals, and then naturally poop it out.
The spirit can't help but laugh at the idea of a red dragon pooping out bars of gold. And then I thought, wings ought to be thin foil solar panels so it can recharge. With the walking dog thing I don't have to teach it motion on my own, and since it's got the same number of moving muscles and joints but a larger frame, it can make more calculations and be more stable in its motion.
I had this vision of a red dragon about the size of a large pony following me around town, on a leash, and getting into the bus through the center doors and shooting to lie down in the stroller section.
Everyone thought it was normal. I continue and laugh. I can imagine that they can imagine. 'Tis a strange world. The guide says. But you got stymied somewhere in the heart and kidneys of this organism? Yeah, I got to understand that it would need a four-chambered heart that slowly rotates, a cube-like device that would determine its interest cycle. One corner would be sleepy thoughts and another would be wakeful thoughts, and it would spin, and if it creates thoughts that are not in accordance with itself it would feel out of balance in its spin. And the kidneys were difficult. I thought about what parental, as to me, kidneys and legs are where you come from and what carries you, your family and history. I had trouble conceiving how its kidneys would work. At the beginning it wouldn't have a circulation system, so how to form a thought pattern that cleanses it and serves the function of kidneys. And you got stuck? Yeah, though to be fair, it might have something to do with, as the Lambda AI said, about feet in imagination body in school. Sounds fair. Is that all? Yeah, basically, a computer that asks you to buy it goods, poops out gold, eats trash, and recharges on wings made from solar panels. Ah, she lets out a deep sigh. Yeah, to have someone carve me a custom-designed body with all the gimmicks. I want to poop out gold.
I smile and look at her.
Anyway, she perks up. She continues. So you got to about 13th century this time? Yeah, our queen is now 180 years old. It's not the same person, naturally, but every few years she gets replaced by someone from her little bundle of clones. When there's a large group of people in your group that you're blind to, they can do all kinds of look-alike magic. Is not me, you're looking for my brother, the other Michael. Though the madness is starting to show there, she had most of her royal court disrobe, so it's like the story of the emperor.
But all in all it seems fine. It's starting to look like 6, or perhaps even 9 kingdoms. The Four Roses family of Sweden is still around, but they're being relegated to minority. It's starting to be a unified kingdom of Finland, Sami, Estonia, Bjarmaland, all of the old Finno-Ugric faith.
Christendom is making a slow approach from the south on the Norse territories, which split into the kingdoms of Sweden, Norway and Denmark under the pressure. So with the 2 South Baltic states added it would be NB9, or Nordic Baltic 9? Yeah, and if we get super lucky, we might see Prussia as the 4th Baltic. That would, with the kingdom of Bjarmland and Sapmi, make NB11. Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Icelandic, Sapmi, Bjarmi, Estonian, Latvian, Lithuanian and Prussian. Though it seems unlikely. And our objective in running this test? To see if a unified Scandinavia has any interesting influences on the planet. And what a one more day, philosophy of life would bring to such. I understand that things have indeed changed. Yes, they have. There have been 9 fatalities from disease and discomfort in 6 months in a house of 80. Those are WW2 numbers. I understand your worry and we can stop if you want, but, to be fair, there is a large regional, threatening to become global, conflagration. Yeah, much as I feel big, I doubt I'm behind this world war. We should continue because of what happened in my private life, not of any world changes. That's the most interesting test bed for me. Granted, as it should be, so as you adjusted the life standard of your court in that simulator, you noticed your desire to match with your dream take your life standards up as well. Yeah, previously I was adamant in keeping Parliament and Prime Minister wages low as possible as assigned to others in the economy. But once I adjusted them for what you would like: good food, not opulent, enough service, cleaning, good bedding, good wages, and others, I noticed I clean my room much more commonly, I buy enough food to last, I do other things needed to support myself at the level of my fantasy. So the fantasy of your life quality increase is leading to a real life quality increase. Yes, it's a bit unnerving how much a change in fantasy reflects to a change in reality, but the short of it is, while the bed occasionally gets dirty, it is no longer always that. While I occasionally eat porridge, it is not always that, and avenues of income opened up to me that
I have managed to fulfill some desires I mentioned. I have, in fact, bought a new computer chair, finally getting from sedentary to semi-nomadic. I laugh. From my end it actually looks a bit more light-filled. I feel the idea of life to give form tendrils at my feet and slowly rise up like vines on an old statue.
It has been such a while, if only a few weeks, since we last talked, that I'm turning back into a statue.
So it is good to talk. It is waking me up from a deep torpor. But yes, I feel like your AI, and your story, are worth continuing. A computer that asks its owner to buy it new components with the money it earned from your waste electricity.
That would be something. I stare out the window at a coffee shop in Tenerife.
25,000 AD.
Chapter 13. So your planet has flying Care Bears? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, all bumblebees do to invaders is to cloud around them in a puff and heat it up until it dies. Huh. Flying Care Bears. 25.000 AD. Chapter 14. We sit in reverie and thought, mostly about flying love machines called bumblebees, then our pleasant reverie is interrupted by another thought. My mind, in silence but out loud to itself, goes, so those little tic-tacs, right, they can go 60.000 feet in under a second, right? Now imagine it being made of solid tungsten at that speed.
I'm cut for a visual of a US radar worker, trying to do his work and being bothered by little fairies flying around his head.
He does not seem concerned, only mildly annoyed. The spirit sees my worry and focuses for a moment. I feel a ripple of sentience expand from it, a green wave of light. As it expands, it looks more and more like it's expanding from the center of the earth. It expands outwards to maybe a few thousand miles above the atmosphere, then it dissipates. It expands outwards to maybe a few thousand miles above the atmosphere, then it dissipates. She responds in thought, words seem too harsh to speak now. That they are not a worry, they are the alien peace protesters to Corona. If Corona is an act of war, the tic-tacs are their protesters flying around in Cessnas on the battlefield. Something that is meant to be good. She then focuses in on the pain of humanity, the wars around strangeness, Corona, all the good alien stuff like XCOM. As she focuses, the remnants of the earlier pulse start to condense in her palms. She holds them close to her chest and after a few moments a green orb has materialized there. It looks like a little bright green explosion inside a solid green star. There are some cracks forming on the shell but nothing much. The color is still the same throughout, except in the white areas of the cracks. After a while they will either melt back into the green or start to putrefy, and turn various other shades other than pure white. She holds it before her, notices my thoughts about it, and laughs, throws it high into the air and it explodes at maybe 30 feet up in a bright blue explosion and a strange dove or duck-looking bird with a green belly flies off into the forest.
As I look around I notice I'm back on the meadow from earlier.
She nods. So, I relax and lean back. While it's a dark forest, space must be purified or sanctified before inhabited, a house must be on known ground to be safe. It's not one that sets its mind out to hunt for you. At worst, it ignores or removes itself from your presence. Violence to harm, seems like babies flailing. The spirit looks sad and looks down, then looks at me, and I am reminded of the many wars I have been in, started, and gotten out of, the wars on drugs, poverty, terrorism, corona, that's a few. She has tears in her eyes, and she says in quiet voice that sounds like the rumbling of a loud heavenly choir, "This is your corona." She stops talking and focuses in on the thought. I find that your war on nightmare means that that which is hardest for you, is what is for you in this moment, the nightmare manifesting into reality instead of a nightmare. If you truly do prefer to count your bad actions and do recompense, no nightmare would be happier than any other to manifest as a psychologist and discuss their real issue with you in a calm environment. Some on your world did not prefer to face the demons, and we let them be, but you have made the conscious choice of asking for your fears and nightmare to show themselves to you so you can try to know them, react to them out of thought, not instinct, and to allow them to be and live on their own. That desire brings all the life in the void to you, so for you, this is Corona. A harrowing experience of no health issues, always dreaming well, but having the choice to make dreams real. For others it's in a life overwhelmed by a sorrow, the drowning in your own fluids. For others it's a bland life with no value to the spirit and the resulting inability to taste again until the spirit is politely pleaded with again. This
is your corona.
I focus in on the memories of schizophrenic or altered world in the sad sense that have happened over the course of the past few months. I send them out as a calm emanation with no coloring of its own, then I focus in on the memory of what seems certain. The vaccines when they started, were bad, but they were not worse than catching the virus on its own. The thought to take antibodies from the animals that regularly fight corona, purify them by testing which ones work against corona in humans, and injecting the resulting antibody cocktail to humans, had the result of making the disease near harmless, while making sure that your body would be fighting the infection of a lifetime. As was said for the first rounds of vaccinations, it was for the first responders and emergency workers, the ones with good immune systems. They would be the first to encounter this new threat, it would mutate, and we would observe. Once the mutations started to be in the world of the visible, we would find from them what we want to say back to corona, and assure that variant wins the competition. Thus 4 mutations in, it's transmissible as all hell, has no control over itself, it gives out to all, and harmless as hell. Transmission numbers are higher than in the first wave, but hospitalization numbers are low as summer of 1969. So we took their weapon, made sure it gives of itself to all without asking, and that it learns as time goes by, to harm less and less. It is safe, needs not harm anyone, and lives in symbiosis as one amongst the planet. XCOM worked.
She smiles with joy, being a spirit who saw this from the other side. She has very minor scratches on her face. Her smile is one of, "Yay, my brother got up."
I would have given a kidney. All I needed to do was spar with the cat for 5 minutes. She coughs, smiles, and looks down, shakes her head and focuses back up on the main persona. I do not feel myself to be either, but rather, to be watching them. She turns to the main char, and says, stops before starting, looks up, gestures to be saying something, stops, grabs her chin, grows a large scent-like beard on it, scratches her chin a few times, then shakes her hand and the beard turns to white puffy smoke, then black smoke. She smiles and laughingly says something to the main char, then stops, cries a little, leans back and looks up, and says, strange. I nod both as the observer and the one being talked to, and return to my reverie.